All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm happy some of us got a chance to conversate with Dr. Murray before we begin, but I want to thank each of you for being here today. We're excited to welcome Dr. Murray Jensen. He's from the University of Minnesota, and Dr. Jensen is well known for his work in dual enrollment and active learning. He's helped countless instructors strengthen the connection between high school and college classrooms. And so he's here today to share some insights, answer some questions that you may have, and also to help us think about how we can make our dual enrollment teaching even stronger here at BRCC. So without further ado, Dr. Jensen.
Well, thank you, Akeisha.
You're
And
welcome.
what we're going to do is I have about a 15, maybe even 10 minute. I've got 10 slides, and it's going to show what I do at the U of M. And then Lakeisha and I have been emailing back and forth, kind of saying, "What's your program like?" And I got to get a feeling as to, kind of what barriers you're looking at. But I'm going to start by saying I love this part of my job. And I'm quite vocal in saying working with high schools is the favorite part of being a professor at the U of M. And so this is not a burden for me. This is fun, to talk about this. So with that in mind, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to just walk through some slides. And somebody, if you've got a question, you can just yell it out or say, stop a second. But we're going to have plenty of time for questions at the end. But I trust you can see this slide. Lakeisha? Okay, I see you over there. You yell out. But dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, college in the schools, I use all three of these terms. And the word college in the schools, I'm not going to go to presentation mode if that's okay. Can you read everything on there okay? All right. But I believe the big organizations use concurrent enrollment, but it's when there's a college course offered at a high school. And so the high school, the physical high school has a room where the college course is being taught. And then for me, it starts with Emily, and that's the person at the bottom left here. And Emily is my administrator at the U of M, and she runs the show. And she's the third administrator I've worked with because I've been doing this for 13 years, 14 years now. But Emily is the third administrator, and they've all been excellent. But my administrator, the person in charge of the program, works with the high school principal or the high school superintendent and deals with all the accreditation stuff and takes all of the, administrative work away from me. And I can focus on teaching and learning anatomy and physiology. But the administrators at the U of M, they do a lot of work. And they report to the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships. So that's the bigger organization. And we're going through an accreditation year this year. And so we've got a lot of paperwork and a lot of files to put together. And they're providing terrific support. But the other people involved, well, there's me. I'm the professor at the U of M that teaches human physiology. The teachers at the high school, that's other people involved. And then the real reason we're all doing our work are the students. And the deal is, it's kind of a situation where I work with the administrators and the teachers. The teachers work with me and the students just work with the teachers. And so we kind of just got to be aware of the dynamics. I make no effort to get to know all the students in the program. I've got 1,000 students in my program and 25 teachers. I know every teacher, but I do not know all the students. That's their job. And the teachers know their students well. Now, a couple things here about my course. It's a human physiology course, how your body works. And at the University of Minnesota, it's a 4 credit non-majors course with a lab requirement. And I teach it at the university at least once a year and for one semester. And so the course meets for 16 weeks, one semester at the U of M. But in the high schools, I require it to be taught over an entire year, 36 weeks. And that is a key component to my program. The high school teachers have the luxury of reviewing and going back and doing things that I don't do at the university. But because they have 36 weeks, they can easily cover all the lab requirements and all the material that, I deem kind of essential to the program. And so that's a big difference. And I cannot kind of emphasize that enough. Something that I'm seeing is if it's done in 16 weeks at the U, it should also be done in 16 weeks at the high school. And I know that's possible, but it's just putting a lot of pressure on the high school teachers. Next one is really kind of the center of a lot of politics, which is how are high school teachers qualified to teach a college course? And at the U of M, the technical term is teaching specialist. The teachers are classified as teaching specialists, and that kind of falls underneath the human resources, the umbrella of who's teaching the classes. But then I put together credentials as to what are the minimum credentials that are required. And it's a big, long list. Graduate degree in biological science. Very, very few high school teachers have a bachelor's or a doctorate in science classes. Most of them have masters in education. They have administrative license or they can be a principal. But we got to beef up the science background. So I am very concerned about, do you have enough science in your background to teach this class? And so I have this requirement graduate degree in any field plus 18, I'm going to highlight it, 18 graduate semester credits in the biological sciences. And so there's a requirement there that makes sure that, in my world, homeostasis from, different concepts. They know their stuff. They know their stuff. And then another thing that's very important is there's an application process. They got to get through me, so I meet with the teacher before they're in the program. And so they make an application and I go through the application. They meet the minimum requirements and then they got to come and meet with me. And I'm a tough interview, I've been told. But I'm not just looking for a warm body. I'm looking for a good teacher. I'm looking for somebody who can light up a room and really help students learn physiology. And with that, here's a few things. One, I was a high school teacher, so I know their jobs. I've been in the high schools, and I'm really nerdy when it comes to education. I read a lot about education. And the book you see at the left is a book I found in my mother's box of college books. It's a book from the 1960s, teaching as a subversive activity. But I read this book when I found it in my mom's closet when I was like a high school kid. And it's just like, whoa, this is so cool. And it was probably the book that made me want to become a teacher. And I've got the PhD now, and it's just like I couldn't stop learning. But that's the book that I kind of, interview from. It's just like, what is the role of a teacher in a classroom? What's the role? Be it a high school, be it a college. But for me, it's about stirring things up and getting students talking and, engaged in discussion. The big picture, it might be on the next slide. I'm a constructivist. I think teachers, should initiate conversations. I think it might also go to the next slide. Yeah, look at this. No lecturing. Um, that's just kind of a goal. My teachers do lecture. That's true, but we don't go. Today we're going to look at 30 PowerPoint slides. No, I've almost outlawed PowerPoint, but the I want discussion. And now what we're talking about here, and I got to be real careful. This is me. This might not be you, but this is what I do with the teachers in my program. But I have very strict pedagogical requirements. And they've got to use guided inquiry, such as POGIL, that's a term that's out there, and small group, learning. cooperative quizzes, and there it is. But it takes a long time to kind of figure out our teaching strategies. And the first year a teacher's in the course, they often, kind of complain. It's just like, whoa, this is tough to get used to. Um, but after teachers have been with me for a couple years, they can't go back. It's just like I couldn't imagine lecturing with PowerPoint for more than 5 minutes. So it's different from a traditional classroom. And here's kind of the slide that says who I am, and it goes back to that Postman book. But I'm a constructivist, and I want the classroom noisy. And here's a key phrase: students engaged in discussions using the language of the discipline. So I want them to use words like homeostasis, diffusion, active transport, hormones. I want to hear that in conversations. Oh, I got a question. I see that finally. Sorry about that. I see a hand raised. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm
Thank you.
unmuted.
Yep.
What does POGO stand for?
Oh, sure. I'll back up. Process-oriented guided inquiry learning. And so if you Google, you don't need AI for POGL. You can just Google POGL. And POGL is a wonderful organization, and they have workshops that introduce guided inquiry learning. And I require new teachers to go to that 3-day workshop. That kind of introduces them to cooperative group learning and to guided inquiry, and they're good. They're good.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, that's a good organization. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, so curriculum. There's curriculum and there's instruction. But in my course, human physiology, we have a huge number of possible topics. But skin, muscle, bones, nerves, we've got a lot of possible topics. And now this is where I deviate from most concurrent enrollment instructors. In this list of topics, I don't care what the teachers teach. They may focus on bones for 3 weeks and nerves for 5 weeks, and somebody else might skip bones altogether and focus on the cardiovascular. But here's my phrase: you teach best what you love. What interests you as a teacher, teach that, because that's going to fire up your students. You're going to be engaged. My least favorite topic in physiology is bones. I find bones boring. I know all the names of the bones, but I just it's just like, nah, I can't get students excited about that. And so I give my teachers in the program huge freedom to pick and choose. But here's the phrase that I use: I want students to learn to think like human physiologists. Teach them to think what a physiologist thinks like. It is impossible to take a 16, 17, 18-year-old student and teach them everything that I know. There's no way. I've been around too long. And to teach them everything that other people, it's just like, no, that's not realistic. But in 36 weeks, begin to teach your students to think like a physiologist. The thinking skills are important. Got another question?
Yeah, hi, Keith Potter here, Baton Rouge Community College. I guess the question would be this: if you've got 25 teachers and let's just say five of them focus on skin, five on muscles, five on bones, five on nerves, how do you, what is like, is there a uniform test that they need to pass or?
Oh, and so I imagine, you guys have students who come in with what's called advanced placement credits, right? In Louisiana,
Yeah,
you have advanced placement. Advanced placement ends with a test. So there's a final test in May, and if they pass that test, they get the college credits. That's how AP classes work. But in concurrent enrollment, the way we run it at the University of Minnesota, the teachers at the high school write the final exams. And I can see them, we talk about them, we compare them, and we know what's on those exams. But at 10 schools, the exam might focus on muscles. It might not have anything on bones. But my goal, big goal is, is this a physiology test? Yeah. There's many ways to get to, the goal of thinking like a physiologist. But the key there is I don't have one final exam for all 25 high schools. I don't write that exam. The teachers write that exam. We go on. Keith, is that good? All right. We're getting near the end, and then we'll have questions and answers here. Um, yeah, and this is the part where I think we really differ from Baton Rouge. Um, each year, so every year, there's 3 days of face-to-face meetings. Every teacher comes to the University of Minnesota 3 times, and we spend a day together. One day is in the fall, one is in the spring, and one day is in the summer. And they get a day off school. They get to leave the school, and a substitute takes their classes. But they come to the university, and we have professional development days, and they are at this stage great fun. We have a good time. I bring in a biochemist, I bring in a medical doctor, epidemiology, but we learn new stuff. And then we compare notes. It's just like, what are your exams like for cardiovascular system? But it's a place for all of the teachers who all teach the same subject. They're all teaching human physiology. They all get in the same room and it's a good time. And then another requirement of our program is I have to do site visits. I go to the school at least once every 3 years. And a new teacher, I'm there usually twice a year. I'll go in the fall and I'll go in the spring. But I show up in the classroom and the students see me. And again, I don't make any effort to get to know all the students. But what's important is that I get to see the teacher's classroom. And then I'm in there. It's kind of a validation of, hey, I'm looking and I care about you and I'm here to help you. And it's a pretty good time. I have to admit that after a while of an experienced teacher, I get to go visit. It's just a fun day. With a new teacher, it can be, a little bit, you're talking too much. Your students aren't really engaged the way I like to. But these requirements, these face-to-face meetings and the site visits, that's a requirement of the University of Minnesota's program. And from what I've heard, I don't know if that's a requirement at Baton Rouge. But I'm going to end with this picture. I've been with this team for quite a while, and I say they are the best educators on earth. They are the best physiology educators I know. And I know a lot of college physiology educators, but these folks are the experts. They're with the students every day. They're with the students every day, just like high school teachers are. And they get to know their students so well. And I listen to them, they listen to me, and it's just like, wow, you're good at your jobs. And I'm very proud of them, actually. And another thing, they're my friends. At this stage of the game, I go out to eat with them. And they ask me questions, I ask them questions, and I'm in the process of starting to think about retirement, and they're nervous. What's going to happen to this program? And the answer is we don't know yet. But the fact that they want to keep going is a good sign. They're enjoying it too. But I am going to stop sharing now, unless there's some really dynamic slide back there you want to see again. Uh, but that's it. Look at that. I went a couple minutes over, but now the rest of the time, questions and answers. Oh, and yeah, I think I'm just going to say questions and answers. Let's hear it. What did you get from that? Well, I'll ask you a question. Do you ever go to your high schools? Do the college instructors ever physically go to the high schools and be in the classrooms?
I can't speak for anybody else, but not that I'm aware of. Typically, I've had dual enrollments in the past, not a lot of them. Yeah, I'm in construction management, and it's been a while since I've had a dual enrollment. But they came here, and basically were in my classes like regular students, my estimating class or my whatever class I was teaching. So they just um,
They sat in?
No, they were enrolled in it.
Oh, they were enrolled in it. Okay. They
Yeah,
actually took it as a course.
they actually took it as a course. I don't know. So they were doing high school and um, the course at the same time. And if I understand, that's how maybe some of the other ones in Vanetta, I think you have some, or some of these other ones may have some. I don't know how that it works in the other ones. If they, I had a friend who used to teach with us. His son was doing dual enrollment down here, Louisiana, and he would go 2 or 3 hours at his high school, and then to another community college for the remainder of the day. And he took
Hmm.
his math courses and science courses and stuff there. So
Several of the college teachers have gone to the schools where they worked with students, and those who have been there in person, to meet the students, for them to see, them that they're real people, not just on a video screen, they have had more success in working with the high school students.
But they actually make an attempt to get to know the high school students.
Yes.
yeah,
And if it's a small enough number, that makes total sense.
Well, we have a different setup. We have a college teacher who's working with the students, and in their high schools, they have, um, at one point, they had a school administrator who worked with them, or a teacher who was in charge there. And that teacher basically supported the college teacher in helping them with homework and making sure they were getting things done and they were understanding what happened when they were in the college classroom. So our setup is a little different than the one
Yeah.
you described.
So is the high school teacher in the classroom kind of a teaching assistant or an assistant to the instructor okay.
Yes.
Does that dynamic work? Does that work for them,
Um,
in your
not
opinion?
it's been dependent on the personality of the college instructor and the willingness of the high school teacher to connect. Um,
Okay.
I basically facilitate a monthly meeting between these populations, and we kind of talk about what it looks like from our side, and it's designed to try to get those teachers, the high school teachers and the college faculty, to make that connection that you guys do 3 times a year.
Do they do that online or they meet face to face?
It has been online. The
And what do you
teachers,
think of that?
it has been the way to get the most people together, and that was
Yeah,
how it
I
happened.
agree. I agree. So I'm gonna diverge with like a 2-minute background, and I think all of you are gonna kind of nod your head at the end of this. But another part of my world is I teach physiology education to community college instructors. So people who teach the nursing program, the first and second A&P 1 and 2. Uh,
Hmm.
and we do it online, but about halfway through the course, we meet face to face for a weekend at a conference, and we actually hang out with each other, and we get to know each other. And then the next week, back online, it's an entirely different dynamic. It's just like we know these people. It's a three-dimensional person as opposed to just a little, spot on the screen. But that changes everything. And it's like with the dual enrollment teachers that I work with now, we met online during COVID. And it's just like, oh, it's so good to see you. It was seeing their friends again back online, but it's just like, I can't wait for this to be over so we can hang out again. And when the teachers get together, with me and a few others, it's a reunion. It's just like there's a hugging, and it's just like, and then they get to work. It's just like, do you have any new activities for the nervous system? Or what have you done? My heart unit has just gone flat. But it's good stuff. But I don't think you can recreate that dynamic online. But online,
Very
in
difficult.
many places, it's the best you got. And so you got to make do with what you got, and getting the most people. Yeah. But I have told the teachers in our group that no, online is not going to be an option for me because I'm not good at it. But, get to the session, get to the sessions. We're meeting at the U of M on Tuesday, and we're starting at 8:30, 9 o'clock. no, you can't stay at home and watch it on Zoom. I want you there. So it's a requirement from me. But I've had a lot of Zoom because of COVID. But I know I myself and I've got colleagues who teach anatomy and physiology online. They're good at it. I can't do it. But running a meeting, sometimes it's the best you got. But I would highly, highly encourage face-to-face meetings if you can. So should I ask you questions? What's your biggest obstacles? What are you, what's the obstacles that you're facing? I think I heard that, it's just communication between the instructors at the high school and instructors at the community college isn't the way you'd like it to be, I think is the way to say it. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with that, well, a couple things. Um, so the emails between teachers are are something that happens like on a daily basis. It's like of the 25 teachers, they have dynamics within the group and they ask each other questions that I'm not even aware of, but they do email each other and they keep me out of it. I send notes periodically. I give them examples of my exams or a good question that I had on an exam or a student story, and then they'll chime in a bit. But the real secret, and it's not really a secret, is they meet face to face 3 times a year. And then here's another one that you have to get after your administrators with. We eat food. It's just like we have lunch provided and we're able to sit around and talk. And what is so interesting, and I learned this early on, is this group is very willing to express the weaknesses of their program. It's just like my students this year are just lazy. Last year was good. This year, going nuts. But they're able to, share the dirty laundry of their classroom and their administrators. And, we talk about what's the silliest thing your administration has done this semester, because everybody's got stories about that. If you're a high
Yeah.
school teacher, you know that.
Yeah.
College is a little different.
We got a hand up. It's been
You
up
got a
for a little
hand?
while. Yeah.
Yes.
Miss-
Yeah, well, my question, and I'm not sure, I think you are gonna tell me something, but I have a question of how do you integrate the cooperative quizzing? But are you doing this as a lecturer or are you doing that online? Because I find that very interesting. I would like to do it, but I do teach online. And so I'm wondering how could that be established in an online setting?
Sure. Well, first of all, what's the discipline you're teaching?
Geography.
Geography. Okay. Well, a couple things. One, please send me an email, and I can direct you to an online tool that some teachers use. Um, and for me, I do things in person, and the cooperative quizzes, are required in the high schools once a week. So often Fridays are cooperative quiz days, and the way they work is it's a regular quiz given to a student by themselves, and it's just a piece of paper, and they've got questions about physiology they got to answer, they got to study, and then they turn that paper in, and then in groups of 2 or 3, um, they work on a quiz again. They get a different copy of the quiz, or maybe even different questions, but then they complete the quiz as a group. And then you got an individual quiz and a group quiz. It's one piece of paper with like 2, 3, 4 names on it. And then you evaluate both of them. And then the final score is the average. And 95% of the time, the group quiz is higher than the individual. So it's a bump. So students typically like this endeavor, but it's a really simple way to promote conversation. And I've been working with like an engineer out in where's he at? San Francisco. But it's a product that's online quizzes at a distance, where students can take different roles. One person sees the question, one person sees all the answers, and it promotes conversation within breakout groups. But it's, online teaching and learning, most of you know, it's hard to get people to talk sometimes. But this is a way to kind of force the issue. You've got to talk, otherwise, you don't see the question. But I am not an online learning or a teaching and learning person. I do face to face, but I do know people are out there that do it well. Oh,
Thank you. Uh,
well, do any of you like have dinner or meet informally with the teachers, or do they meet with you?
the way I'm gonna speak, but the way I do it is I usually meet the whole class at the beginning of every term. So, and I do it through Zoom. So that is set up by the teacher at the high
Okay.
school, and she sets it up. So I'm there. I'm talking to the class, and I am explaining how the class is going to run. But then I do definitely take a long time to ask questions, interact with them, and things like that.
Well, you
And
said that's electronically? You meet with them electronically online?
yeah, through
Yeah.
Zoom. And then with the teacher, I do have a lot of communication with her or them throughout the years. So we email each other. I tell them what is coming, what needs to be done,
Hmm.
and then she does it the best she can. I mean, they are not very, most of the teachers don't have a geography background, or
Okay.
many of them have probably not even taken geography, but
So do
I
you write
do.
the exams? You write the exams and they administer them. It sounds like, is that right?
Yeah, I do everything, and all she does is assist the students as they complete the assignments.
Okay. How many students are in your program? That sounds like it'd be a lot of work
Well, I don't know about the whole program. I can only tell you about my
for your
class, my
geography class.
classes. Yeah, so I mean, I usually teach 2 classes every term, usually around, I don't know, 15 to 20 students each.
Okay.
And most of them are in high schools. Sometimes I have like a mixed class where there'll be um, some college students with high school students in the class. But
Mhm.
I think what the university likes the most, I mean, the college likes the most, is to do these classes that are exclusively at the high school. So everyone is within a class with one teacher, and they are completing the assignments that I assign together.
But you write the assignments and you write the exams and grade the exams. It sounds like that's
Yeah,
kind of how your model works.
that's how I do it, and I
Yep.
believe all of us do. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know if any other teacher does anything different, but that's how I teach.
So if
And
you have two or three schools, is the same exam given at all three schools?
well, because this is college or college level classes, I'm
Yep.
trying to keep the same standards. So yes.
Okay, okay. And then the same day even, I'd imagine. But I'm thinking of a story. I got a good friend that sits next to me in our faculty meetings, but we both run he runs a economics class and I run my physiology class. And his line is the teachers in the program that he supervises appreciate the structure that he provides them. He provides them every Monday. Here are the slides, here are the objectives, but every Monday he sends out material to the teachers. This is this week's work, And I say, my teachers appreciate the freedom of choosing what topics to choose. It's just like it's this week, it might be the urinary system, it might be the lymphatic system, but there's no one way to run this. It's just like what fits your style. And with my style, I like the freedom, and the teachers seem to appreciate that too. And I'm going to say my phrase again, you teach best what you love. It's just like, what's the topics in your discipline that you like? Focus on that. And then another thing for me is depth is better than breadth. It's just like if there's topics in your discipline that you can go deep on, and you can talk about the heart and blood and vessels for a long time, go deep as opposed to trying to cover just everything across the top, which a lot of introductory courses can do. It's just skimming along the surface. But I give the teachers freedom. That's what I do. And my good buddy gives them lots of structure. And there's no one way to do it. But that kind of outlines the two ends. Your program, is a bit different, in my opinion, in that you actually have the instructors of the college really closely engaged in the day-to-day activity of the schools. Are you there? Are you making a presence 5 days a week?
No, my class is online and it is asynchronous too. So
Asynchronous?
yeah, so I create the content and I actually make it available to the class and to the instructor ahead of time. Like they know all the modules and all the content at the beginning of the semester. I mean, each module will have due dates, but I allow them to see everything so that the teacher then can start either preparing or whatever. If she
Mhm.
wants me to provide additional help, I'm more than happy to do that. But I set up the whole thing and it is, like I said, online and it is asynchronous. So they work with their teacher in their class during their assigned hours. And of course, that varies from school to school. And so that's why the asynchronous system works best in this case.
Can you
Um,
tell me what the teacher is doing in the classroom? When a normal day, what are they doing?
well, that's a very broad
Well,
question,
are
but I'm
they,
assuming that in
are-
my class, or what at least what I see them doing, is they are giving time to the students to go through the material. And then what I've seen them doing this semester is that they actually go through the assignment, explain, help them kind of plan it,
okay.
and then they finish the assignment and then they upload it. And this has gotten much better. Like the very first time I taught at that same school, it was a lot more chaotic, but it seems that as time has passed, these teachers have had more experience and have been able to work with the material better. I mean, like this time, this is my third time in that those two schools. I mean, it's working much better. The teachers are more knowledgeable of the content and their interaction with me and with the students. So it does take a little time, but
Yep.
that's what it is.
Okay.
So
The
was your
program
area?
at VRCC is very different than what you're describing, Dr. Jensen. In our dual enrollment program, what it's seen as is that the high school students are getting an opportunity to take a college level class with a college teacher.
Yep.
They reside in the high school, so they often come to the campus to take the class, and that's
Oh,
where they interact with the teacher. Then
okay.
when they go back to their high school, they have help in the high school. That in some of the classes, they're taught from the high school. The students go to a computer lab in their high school and they interact with the college teacher that way. So it's
They
been
actually
driven, yeah, it's
are
been
they come
driven
they
by the
come to your
college.
campus. They walk to your campus, so they're
Some
on
of them,
your
some
campus and they're
students
in
come to
your
our camp.
classrooms. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's
in
quite
some
different.
cases, teachers go to the high school.
Hmm.
College teachers go to the high school.
Yep.
But we have a model that has evolved over time. and it's evolved in a very different way. Students are really trying to work towards graduating from their high schools and also getting a diploma from the college to get an
Do they
associate
get
degree with their high school diploma.
do they get high school credit as well for taking this class?
In some cases, they do,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
that's
their
the
goal is
dual
to graduate
enrollment.
with the associate degree
Yep. Yeah,
as
your model
well.
is different. Your model is different from most that I've heard. Um,
Yes.
but we, at our university, we do have 16, 17-year-old high school kids who actually come to the university and take a class.
Hmm.
I typically don't even know who they are, except they're younger looking kids in the room,
Hmm.
but I treat them exactly the same. But
Yes.
when they go back to their high school, they just take other courses. They don't have any supplemental help.
Mhm.
So that's different. Do you have to have licensed teachers in the room? When the students are back at the high school and they're working on their assignments, they're doing their learning management system homework or discussion stuff. Working at the high school, does that need to be a licensed teacher, or can it
It
just be an
usually it
aide?
seems to be, from what I know, they are teachers who teach science at their school, a biology
Yeah.
teacher. So the
Huh.
college teacher is working with a similar person at the high school level.
But with that in mind, is it necessary to have good communication with that teacher? It seems like their role is not as significant in terms of, facilitating the classroom. They're managing, the assignments and maybe watching, proctoring the exams. But I'm wondering, is it, if is a communication gap, I guess the question is, so what? Is that really affecting the student's ability to learn, which
It
is
may
the
not be
focus?
affecting the student's ability to learn, but the college teacher is driving the show, is
Oh yeah,
basically what
yeah.
it amounts to.
No, and I give the keys, I give the car keys to the high school teachers. That's a big difference. But you're running the show. So what's the biggest headache you got? In doing this, it sounds like, you got the system set up. What's a headache that you've encountered?
Well, there's really nobody on the call who can answer that question, because the people who manage the program are not here to
Okay.
talk about that aspect of it. Um, from what I can discern, um, our program, we had to overcome the fact that high school students can take a college level class, perform at the level of a traditional college student, hang with the same rigor that a traditional older student can,
Yep.
and that the credit they are getting is equivalent to what happens on the college campus.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the effort has been to convince everyone who knows anything about it that it is not being watered down, that students aren't being catered to and given grades, and
Well, if
that
they're in
that's
the
where a
same
lot of the
course.
energy has been expended.
Yep. No, if the big if I looked right, I looked at the website for your community college, and the average age is 27, 28, around there. The
It's
high
fairly
school kids
reasonable.
are,
Yeah,
16, 17, 18.
yeah,
They're going to stick out a bit, but
they
if they're
do.
in the same course taking the same exams, I don't know what the argument would be. If they're passing the same exams that they're doing at the community college, that's equivalent.
Well, that's why they have the supplemental instruction in the high school.
Hmm.
It's to try to bridge that gap.
Yeah, yeah. Is that part
Well,
of
oh, I was gonna say, I've got in my construction classes, I get a lot of guys. We have a lot of plants down here, and so we get a lot of in construction. We get a lot of non-traditional guys. Guys that have worked out in the field for 15, 18, or a few years, decide to come back to school. Um, and I want to say the biggest thing, like you mentioned, the age is that maturity level. Like, there's 27, 28, 30-year-old might be married, have a couple kids, and they've got a different focus than a 17-year-old. And I'm
it?
for my counterparts that I hear in the next meeting I got to go to after this, they talk about dual enrollment, and sometimes it's your typical high school kid. They don't want to do their homework. You know what I mean? They don't want to have that,
Mhm.
be held accountable. It's like, well, they didn't, it was the high school dance last night. I couldn't get my homework done. And well, what about the day before that? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, um, yeah,
No, there's differences, and it's just what you said, a person with a couple kids at home and, a bank account that's going a little thin and, a few other real life issues versus, a 16-year-old who's trying to figure out frantically what they're going to do on Friday night to be with the cool kids, and
yeah.
those are different worlds,
It's
and
a basketball game. I couldn't do my homework. I had to go, be at school for the basketball game. So yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, that's where, I look at, the development of people, and it's just like 16, 17, 18 years is a really wonderful age, but it's very different than 26, 27, 28. But if they're
Yes,
doing the same academic work, be it in geography or philosophy or construction, it's just like if they're doing this, if they're passing the same exams, there's really no argument. They're doing it. And, at the U of M, at our, university, because of things like advanced placement and dual enrollment classes, we have, 19 and 20-year-olds who are graduating with a bachelor's degree. They can get through school very quickly. And a thing that some of our more experienced professors like myself, it's just like, academically they are really smart, but emotionally, developmentally, they aren't ready for the real world. But
exactly.
they're brilliant at their topics, be it chemistry or whatever. But the real world is going to be a scary place for them. So yeah, there's pros and cons there. But your
I
model
was
sounds fine. It's the assistance at the additional support that a student can get at the high school, at the physical high school, to help complete the assignments and engage in the discussions. That reminds me of supplemental instruction that from Trio that I used to work with Trio a lot, and it sounds kind of like that model, and that's a good model.
I was gonna say that another important thing to consider is, I mean, yes, we're teaching the same content, the same college level content, but the approach of how we teach is has to change because of what you just said. I mean, their maturity.
Mhm.
So it cannot just be like read the book, do these quizzes, do this discussion. It's gotta be a lot more engaging.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
that's a whole nother talk. But I do that. The cooperative quizzes and the small group learning stuff. That in my experience, that's how students learn physiology the best.
and gamification. I mean, I've been adding a lot of games to my class.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
what works with a 17-year-old might not work with a 30-year-old. A
yeah,
30-year-old might just get really frustrated with group dynamics that a 17-year-old
Exactly.
is more accepting of. But
Right.
yeah, they're not the same person, a 30-year-old and a 17-year-old. But I've had luck, with both the university level and at the high school level with constructivism, small group work, and getting students to talk. But it's not easy. There's some subjects where it's just tough to come up with stuff. And then there's performance classes. Like I picked on welding. When my kids graduated from high school, I needed something to do, so I went to the local technical college and became a welder. And we joked. I was the same age as the instructors in that class, and we talked about high schools wanting to have dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment welding, and there was a push, and I did a little bit of work with it, but it's just like the way they were hoping to get it set up just didn't make any sense, and it didn't go anywhere. But some courses work and some courses no, it just doesn't work, to have concurrent enrollment. Sometimes the answer is no.
Hey, Murray, I actually grew up in Minnesota in White Bear Lake,
Ah, go
and
Bears.
go Bears, yeah. And Century College combined with 916 Votech, because they used to, when you talk about the welding, I mean, I graduated in 1979,
Yeah,
and back then, from White Bear High School, back then, a lot of my buddies were going to the 916 to learn a trade. So they, in the morning, they were doing math and English at the high school. Then they'd hop on a bus and go over there for
yep.
auto body or welding or something
That was
like
a
that.
great program.
Yeah. Is that still going, or is that considered dual enrollment, or because that's a trade thing, I mean?
You know, we call that, there's another term. It's not dual enrollment. There's another term that it's not coming to me right now. But that's still available. That's still available where they split their day. The
Mhm.
morning is at the trade school or at the technical college or whatever, and then they go back to the other place. And a lot of times it's done to kind of keep their social groups together and so they can compete in athletics and it's just kind of so they can have both. They can have both. And there's a couple there's schools now in northern Minnesota. In northern Minnesota is iron ore. It's very blue collar and it's different than the city. But they have technical high schools up there, polytechnic high schools, where the trades, they have auto body, they have welding, they have machine tool, they have some traditional topics that you only saw at technical colleges being taught in high schools now. And it's just trying to get more practical. Not everybody is cut out for political science. Or what do we have? We have a philosophy person here. It's just like there's kids that just do not fit in a philosophy class, just like some students don't fit in auto body. But yeah, I actually taught welding at the local high school for a while. I was helping the instructor. But yeah, this the kids are different. The kids are different. And some are just ready to take college classes at age 16. They're ready. They're ready for that challenge and they're kind of tired of the immaturity of normal high school kids and they want a different challenge. So I think you're offering a great opportunity for some students. Well, Keisha, what's our schedule?
Yes.
Have we exhausted the questions?
I think
So
so. Any more questions? We have about 5 minutes left. If you guys have any more questions, much. Yeah, I was just about to say. I know we're cutting it to the time, so thank y'all so much for joining. If you can, just scan that QR code to fill out the survey for today, and then receive. You're gonna get a certificate for attendance for today. But thank you, Murray, for being here with us and sharing some insight. Thank you all for joining us today. Any questions? I did drop Murray's information there if
yep,
you want
send me an
to
email.
send an email or want to
It's,
jog some ideas or kind of go back and forth. You can definitely do that as well. But other than that, this wraps it up. So thank you guys so much.
thanks, Lakeisha.
All right,
You're
thanks.
welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.